speaking of fun, I wanted to bring this up.
What's up?
Now, on top of all this stuff you're doing, you know, getting all these awards, and you're you're working with your clients, now you got into professional wrestling. Like, oh, fuck, do you make time for all this, man?
I got my BTW hoodie on right now.
Nice.
Like, it's got the big ass ring on the back.
Talk about that, because I know it's not common for someone to get into like something like that at a later age, or is it? I don't know, because every time I hear about it, like somebody they started when they were like what?
Super young.
Yeah, like boxing. I know they start after like 10, 11. But I know you guys used to do some like backyard wrestling back in the days.
So my thing with wrestling, I got a connection with wrestling that's like lifelong.
Yeah,
I told people I didn't know who my father, like I know who my father was. I've seen him a couple times, but I don't know him like that. But and I don't have a lot of memories with him. But one of the first memories I had was him sitting me in front of a TV, and I was watching Saturday night's main event. And I told this to Bret Hart the other day when I met him.
Oh shoot!
I was telling him he was the first person I watched wrestle, because I watched the Rockers versus the Hart Foundation.
Nice, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was one of the first things I remember watching. So I told that to Brett the other day, and he was like, "Wow, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy." But
that's one of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah, no, it's crazy that I even got to meet him. It's crazy. People talk crazy about him and all that, but he's a cool ass dude.
Yeah,
like he's a cool ass dude.
Oh yeah,
like, for real. That's a cool dude. Like, people can say whatever they want to say about him, but when I meet you, and you can give me like some cool energy, bro, like I already know that's who he is, and that's how
I figured that's the case with a lot of them, because you're having a bad day and 100 people trying to come up to you and talk to you. Yeah, dude.
Like I heard this story, like how YouTubers talk. His YouTube cat was talking about his favorite wrestlers were Bret Hart and like Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
But like he used to watch most of their tapes, like he had VHS tapes like rented from Blockbuster. He didn't watch it on a regular. So he met Bret Hart, and he explained to Bret Hart when he was little, I think he might have been in first grade or something like that, second grade.
Right.
And he was like, yo, I'm so happy that I met you. You're on my list of top wrestlers I want to meet. Next, I want to meet Shawn Michaels. And this was like after the screw job. So then like Bret Hart, he was like, well, when you do meet him, give him this. And then he flipped the little kid the bird. But he was going through a dark place, it was still fresh. It was still fresh. But I'm just like, man, that kid was like, I was mortified. Like, he was my hero. He flipped me off.
Man, I thought that was awesome.
That's awesome.
I thought that was awesome. Like,
soft-ass kid.
Hella soft, man. I'd have been like, hey, Sean, this is what Brett told me to give you.
Hell yeah.
I'd have made sure I seen Sean then. This is what Brett told me to give you, man.
Yeah.
And like, nah, you know what's crazy, though? Like,
why you flip me off?
Nah, it's just wild that even in the beginning of my life, bro, wrestling was a big part of what I was doing, right? And I was a fan from elementary school when the Attitude Era was popping off, and they had like Steve Austin and The Rock and the Undertaker, Kane and all that. When Kane was raw as hell when he first came out with the mask, and he was
broke that door.
Yeah, and he ripped off the door and beat up the Undertaker. When he set the casket up, man, Kane was
those
raw.
are the best times for
wrestling. To me, those were the best wrestling times. I think right now, there are better athletes in wrestling, like right in this era right now, for sure. Like the things they can do are far superior. But as far as storytelling, as far as personalities, and as far as just the overall movement and how everything kind of flows, there wasn't nothing like the Attitude Era, man. Like, that was probably the best era ever, like, for that.
Story-wise,
even the guys who didn't mean much, like, that were on the lower card, they were doing something.
Like, the guys that were mid-card back then, were great. Like, I remember the Brood. The Brood wasn't even the main card guys, right?
No, but they were awesome.
Some of my favorites.
But they were awesome.
Now for me, this emphasis on like more technical wrestlers, more grappler guys, more like cruiserweighty, like throw your body around the room, like that's up my alley, because during the Attitude Era, like a large portion of my fandom came from WCW, and like I was idolizing guys like Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero and these workhorses, and even to a certain extent Ric Flair was always my favorite of like the Ric Flair Hogan thing, because you know,
really
Rick's thing was like the figure 4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was make you tap. Rick could still, even though he was older, could still do that thing where you kick him out of the ring and then he would flip and land on the apron and
land right on his feet.
Woo! Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the type of stuff I like. So I remember when I moved out here, like, cause I grew up in Arkansas. I moved out here, I didn't have cable, and one of the first things I asked my mom was like, "Well, what channels do you have?" And then she was like, "Oh, we have about 11 or 12. I was like, "Is there wrestling?" Because I'm just, yeah, there's wrestling. And I was like, "Oh, there's hope." And I was like, so I was like, okay, so
we're gonna get along.
Monday or Thursday? What? She's like, Thursday, because SmackDown was run on UPN.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, so who comes out? And she's like, well, there's an older guy. Oh, older guy, okay. And what's the older guy like? And then she described the older guy to me. It was like, it's Vince McMahon. Oh. That show.
Yeah.
So then like I learned to love the WWE. I learned a whole different side of the game. It was like The Rock is hilarious and but
that
still.
Was dude, I remember like 40% of the show was all mic.
Yeah.
Like someone on the mic.
Yeah. It was a lot of story.
That's like I can do the connection of that to boxing, because I remember back in those days boxing was all dudes throwing haymakers, like, and now it's really technical.
But
people watching their heads and shit. Cause back then in wrestling, the chairs, do they still do chairs now? I haven't really.
They did something at the last thing for AEW, which is like the new, basically like, All Elite Wrestling is like the new WCW in a way, just because it has that competition aspect with WWE. So they had a thing where Cody Rhodes, who is Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream son, he had taken a chair shot straight to the head, right? And like got his whole shit busted open. Like the whole back of his head was like gushing. And so that was the first time we seen a chair shot to the head in hella long.
Really?
Yeah, so it was interesting. Like for me, wrestling is like it's in the midst of like another hot season. Like it has the opportunity to be just as big as it was.
Now that WWE has competition.
Yeah, because then you have more opportunities to catch something on a network TV level. My aunt, like I said, is the head secretary for Turner Broadcasting, right? TNT, TBS, and all this.
Yeah.
And she hit me up, and she never really cared for wrestling. She knew I was a huge fan, so she'd hook me up with stuff and everything. But she's over here talking to me about All Elite and all these other things. So it's gotten people to a point to where it's like, okay, they're interested in this stuff now because it's coming back. And I think it was just better when there was competition. Like WWE, I think the problem with them right this second is that if you've had no competition for like 10, 15 years, you can afford to just cruise and just go on cruise control because there's no competition.
You can have someone like Roman Reigns.
Just you could just shove people because you know what though? That just goes back to like the problem with society a lot of the time is because you got these big corporations that have been spoon feeding you something for so long that when you saying, hey, I want something different, they be like, nah, keep this. You know what I'm saying? We're going to keep feeding you this.
Mediocrity.
Yeah, and then sooner or later, people just going to be like, I'm tired of it. If Vince McMahon and them listen, and the WWE listen to their fans, and they really treated their wrestlers like all the way raw like they're supposed to be, there would be no All Elite Wrestling.
Right.
There wouldn't even be an All Elite Wrestling right now because All Elite Wrestling started with Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes, a couple years ago, was signed to WWE.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to do a certain gimmick that, what was it, Stardust, I think?
That's Goldust's brother, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he didn't want to do that gimmick no more. He just wanted to be Cody. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't want him to do that. So he left. And then so after a couple years, now he's the executive vice president of All Elite Wrestling with Tony Khan and them. And had they just done the right things,
this is karma.
How new is AEW?
Like, it just started so
because they had a big event this weekend. No,
yeah, that was All Out, right? So they're about like a year, not even a year. This is a months old company. They had All In, which was like their first event.
Yeah,
probably like last year.
Okay,
and like. They didn't really talk about having the whole federation until probably a few months ago. So this thing is like probably 6 months old, and it's already selling out arenas.
Heat.
Really?
Like selling, like WWE, to my knowledge, has to tarp off some of the arena spots sometimes because people won't, fill up.
WCW used to do that all the time.
Yeah, AEW was selling out legit, like that All Out thing, and the past couple things that they done all sold out. And they about to go to TNT and start weekly TV in October. So that's just a place for more wrestlers to go.
And I know they got better, like, I don't know about better, because I know a little bit about wrestling, but what was that other one? Impact? Are they still a thing?
TNA Impact.
Only on a technicality. Are they still a thing?
They're barely still, they're limping.
On top of that, I know,
They're like the ECW of the three if ECW really sucked.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and then speaking of ECW, the other thing,
you're gonna give me
on top. We're not gonna get him signed to any of this after this. No, but
I ain't going nowhere.
aside from,
you don't want to be on Impact.
No, I don't.
Before
Ring
like
of Honor, nigga.
All these other ones coming up, the local, like the independent local scene has been growing.
That's booming,
dude. I've heard about Hood Slam. I've heard about all these other ones, the Lucha stuff happening, and then.